So tires are arguably the most important component on your bike. They determine to a large degree how your bike feels and also the terrain that you can ride on comfortably. But they can also be really dang expensive. But do they have to be? In this video, I'm going to talk about my experience with the newly launched American Classic gravel tires. So the brand American Classic, known formerly for their wheels, has been resurrected by new ownership, and they have come out with a suite of pretty interesting tires that are super wallet friendly. I mean, shockingly so. These tires cost like $35. Inexpensive is one thing, but how do they actually ride? American Classic sent over two of their tires, the Uden tire and the Aggregate. I've only really had the chance to ride the Uden tire, so I'll share my experiences with that and also some measurements of the Aggregate tire. Uden tire comes in 700 and 650B sizes. Of course, I tested the 650B by 47. And as a bit of surprise, the actual measured width on the I-25 rim came out to 48. This might be the first time where the actual width is wider than the stated width. Go figure. The Udens come in a tan and a black. Of course, I had to go with the tan. The tread pattern kind of reminds me of the old Clement MSO tires. So tightly packed, a little bit on the shallow side, good for hard pack, some pavement riding, probably not enough grip for when things get really muddy, but as a dry mixed terrain tire, really fits the bill. Rolling on pavement and hard pack, it rolled pretty well. It wasn't excessively noisy. Climbing was generally not an issue until things got really steep and dry and dusty, and that's where it really hit the limits of the tire and it would spin out a little bit. Not a huge surprise, it's something I expected with this kind of tread pattern. I took the tire on some paved roads and some gravel roads and down some chunky green trail single track. Messing around with the tire pressure, I was able to get a pretty nice, compliant and supple ride. While not a full-blown mountain bike tire, probably enough tire if you take that occasional single track shortcut or if there's a short section of trail on your favorite gravel loop. I haven't had a ton of time with the tire, but in the short period of time that I have been riding with it, it's definitely exceeded my expectations, especially for a $35 tire. A couple of unique things of both the Uden tire that I've been riding in and the Aggregate is that they have this 5S protection. Basically, if you hate flat tires, this is the tire for you. It has good protection not only from the tread, but also protects the sidewall. So if you're paranoid or prone to sidewall tears, then this is definitely a tire to check out. Another unique thing about all the American Classic tires is that they have this really interesting road protection tire program. So let's say you're going on a ride and you happen to tear the sidewall somehow. If you've registered your tire purchase, then they'll let you buy a replacement tire at 50% off the MSRP. To my knowledge, this is the only tire brand that's doing that, and that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I know what you're thinking, that's a lot of upside, what's the downside? And for me, the big one is the weight. These are not the lightest weight tires. The Aggregate on our scale weighed in at about 615 grams, and the Uden weighed in at right about the same. So you're looking at over a pound per tire. Switching from the lightweight Rene Erst tires I had on my Crest, I did feel the bike felt a little pokier. The bike definitely felt heavier overall, and it just lost a tiny bit of pep. I'd love to see these tires come out in a ultralight or at least lighter version than they have. But to be honest, for $35, these are pretty dang good. I think these would make awesome tires if you're just getting into gravel and don't want to commit to a $80 or $90 tire. You just want to dip your toes with something accessible, then this is actually a really good option. See another potential use of this tire as a, let's say, training tire. A little extra weight will make you stronger, so come race day, like I know what race day is, you can swap to the lighter tires and just fly up those hills. Another great use for this tire is if you're going bike packing and you just want that extra sidewall protection. While I do love these super supple tires, part of me, there's always some existential doubt about splitting the tire open in the middle of nowhere. And with these tires, comparing it to the Rene Erst, definitely a little bit more sidewall, slightly less pliable. The protection is there, you notice it. In terms of what these tires feel like, to me, they're kind of reminiscent of the sidewall that you would get in the Panaracer Gravel King or something like the Specialized Pathfinder Pro. So more along those lines where you have a little bit sturdier casing, not paper thin. These tires are super opaque when you put them up to the light. But hey, I totally get not everyone needs a super supple tire all the time. In short of being a super competitive cyclist where every gram is going to make a big difference, this is a great accessible tire for most people. I've been testing the Udens on the Crest, but I just mounted these guys. These are the Aggregate, and this is a pretty interesting tire. I really like these kind of hexagonal knobs in this tight formation. You can see that they're fairly shallow. This is going on the crust neck, so if you're curious about how these ride, then be sure to subscribe. I know some tire nerds out there are going to be curious how they compare to the Hum to Lip. From afar, they look similar, but once you get them side by side, pretty different. The tread pattern is a lot closer, and the knobs themselves are a lot shallower. In terms of how these measure out, again, on an I-25 rim, they are indeed 47 millimeters. And I suspect they're gonna expand a little bit like the Udens did on the crust. They're all tubeless ready. It was a lot easier to mount than I had thought. Compared to the Specialized Pathfinder Pros, these went on super easy. Even actually compared to the Rene Arus, this was a lot easier tire to mount. So are these $35 better than a $80 or $90 Rene Arus tire? Well, it kind of depends on what you prioritize. If you're prioritizing price, then heck yeah, obviously it's better. If you're prioritizing durability, then it could be, although the Rene Arus also has their endurance casing, which I found to be pretty durable. If you prioritize a really light and kind of responsive feeling tire, then not so much. Then you might still go Rene Arus. These I don't think are meant to compete directly with the Rene Arus tires. I think for 35 bucks, they are a dang good tire, and I'm super stoked to see these interesting patterns and tires in 650B at these price points. If you want to learn more about the tires, check out the links below, and you can buy them online and have them next week and get yourself a life on. If you liked this video and found it informative, consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon. That is the best way. You help keep the lights on, get access to some cool discount codes with lots of brands that we love. And with that, keep the self side down.